Tonight, a new potential site for an emergency center in Saskatoon comes with concerns. Gardening with a view, as one hospital is growing their own veggies on their roof. Plus, a Saskatoon swimmer returns from the Paralympics in Paris with some fancy new hardware.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, September the 11th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. We begin tonight with the case of the Saskatoon high school student who was set on fire last week. The girl accused in the assault appeared in court this morning. The 14-year-old girl is facing charges of attempted murder, arson, and aggravated assault. This after she allegedly set a 15-year-old girl on fire at Evan Hardy Collegiate last week. She can't be named because of her age, and her case has been adjourned until next week. The victim remains in serious condition in an Edmonton hospital. A teacher was also hurt while extinguishing the fire and was taken to hospital. A spokesperson for Saskatoon Public Schools says he has since been released and is at home resting. They also say the teacher is looking forward to returning to school at some point. More than $90,000 has been raised so far in separate fundraising campaigns to help the two with expenses. The city of Saskatoon has a potential site for an enhanced emergency shelter. This is the same shelter that got axed last year from the Sutherland neighborhood. And as Pratush Dayal reports, there are now more concerns.
This site could be the home of a new enhanced emergency shelter in Saskatoon. It would accommodate 30 to 40 beds, and the building would be renovated to include things like showers, bathrooms, and kitchen facilities. Some are critical of the space and worried it won't meet the rising need.
Nobody's listening to the service providers.
Saskatoon Tribal Council Chief Mark Arcand says it won't be enough beds, and he points out it would lead to a reduction at Fairhaven Emergency Wellness Centre. Right now, they have 106 beds, and they're always at capacity.
My agreement, I get cut when these beds open. Salvation Army doesn't get cut, but we're doing the same work. There's a discrepancy here. And I look at the province and I say, where's the fairness? Where's the accountability? Where's the transparency?
Arcand says he's getting picked on, and he says the province will give him a 90-day notice when the new shelter opens.
Then that means I'll go down to 65 beds. So whatever that number is, 41 beds, right? Okay, so does that mean my funding is going to stay status quo? No, because I'm going to lose that $110 per person per night. That's going to affect everything.
A statement from Social Services Minister Jean Makowski says the government will be moving to a model of smaller shelters going forward. And that's why the ministry will be decreasing spaces in Fairhaven in the future. But the numbers aren't set in stone. The statement says things will be determined after temporary spaces are available and an initial assessment is done. Last winter, there was a warming centre at St. Mary's Parish. Between 140 and 200 people attended each day. Arcand says the focus should be on that again.
Proposing 2 30-bed shelters, I think we need to put those on hold and really focus on warm-up shelters because it's only going to help 30 or 40 people. Where are the other 150 people supposed to go?
Gordon Taylor at Salvation Army agrees. He says there's a real need in Saskatoon for basic shelter.
We're all what are called enhanced shelters. There's no basic shelter in town. That causes the need every winter for a winter warm-up location.
Taylor says he is working with the city of Saskatoon on a warm-up location for the coming winter. Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Select pharmacies in Saskatchewan will soon be able to test and treat people for strep throat and ear infections. It's part of a pilot project announced by the provincial government today. Everett Hindley says by December, 50 pharmacies will be able to offer ear infection assessments and then prescribe medication. 10 pharmacies will be able to test for strep throat on site. The move is another effort to reduce the burden on doctors and hospitals.
With the point-of-care testing they will have, they'll be able to get that result in about 10 minutes. And the pharmacist will be able to, if it's confirmed being strep throat, that pharmacist will be able to prescribe for it right then and there. So I think it's better for patient care, but it's also better for the system as a whole.
Hindley says the pharmacies have not been selected yet. Pharmacists will have to take training and meet requirements from the Saskatchewan College of Pharmacy Professionals and follow mandatory guidelines. The cost for the pilot project is $700,000, and depending on how it goes, the program could be expanded in the future. A dramatic fire in downtown Regina drew a lot of attention last night. It happened on the 11th floor of an apartment building on Broad Street. It happened here at Center Point Plaza apartment complex just before 6 p.m. And when Regina fire crews showed up, they found a large fire on the balcony of a suite on the 11th floor. Regina's deputy fire chief says they were able to contain most of the damage to one suite.
They made entry, they extinguished the fire, controlled it quickly before it spread into some of the other apartments. It did have some minor extension into the property above and below. But they managed to control it quickly, did salvage and overhaul, and contained it to the majority of it to that one room.
Most of the residents were able to get back into their home by midnight. That said, occupants of 5 suites did have to find temporary accommodations. Hewitt says fire crews also responded to a fire in a townhouse on Rochdale Boulevard around the same time. No one was hurt in either fire, and the causes are under investigation. Saskatoon skyline is looking a little greener these days. That's because a new garden has opened up on the roof of Royal University Hospital, and it's giving people some fresher food options while making an impact on the environment. Ethan Williams has more.
Melanie Marasheka normally spends her days working inside, but these days she's tending to lettuce, herbs, and tomatoes on the roof of Royal University Hospital. The veggies are part of a new rooftop garden pilot project launched by the Saskatchewan Health Authority. And more than 70 kilograms of produce has been harvested since July to be served to patients, staff, and visitors.
We look at our menu options that we're serving in the cafeteria for today as well as tomorrow, and we come up and harvest the things that would go along with those menu items.
Food trucked in from faraway fields often loses nutrients along the way. And using these large aeroponic towers to garden means less weeding and more benefits to the climate.
A typical head of lettuce utilizes about 60 liters of water. These towers have it so it's 3 liters. So there's a 95% reduction in the amount of water used.
Roofs like this one can also generate a lot of heat, warming not only buildings, but the air around them too. But these plants can trap the heat and use it to grow. This University of Saskatchewan researcher says rooftop gardens are nothing new, but they are unique for a hospital. She says it's important for patients to know where their food is coming from.
When you're eating food that really looks good and is really fresh, you are more willing to consume it. So it enhances your opportunity for well-being when you're a patient in the hospital.
The garden will soon wind down for the season, but there's opportunity for even more types of veggies, flowers, and even fruits next year, which means more chances to feed people fresh food.
Our food is quality. We check everything and it is good, but I think the benefit of having things like this is it's at its freshest.
Ethan Williams, CBC News, Regina.
I know, yesterday I talked about summer hanging on, and today, colorful leaves really blowing off the trees. It is gusty out there today, and cloudy and smoky too. So when will all of this clear out? Ethan will have your forecast after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Shelby Newkirk beamed as she held up the bronze medal she won at the 2024 Paris Paralympic Games. The Saskatoon swimmer is now back at home after competing at her second Paralympics. The 28-year-old stopped by our Saskatoon studios to tell us about it.
My best events were day 1 and day 10, and day 1 I came in 4th, and I knew that I really wanted to get on that podium if I could, and so I kind of had those 8 days to kind of be like, oh, can we do it, can we do it? I had an individual event within there, I had 3 relays, so I definitely still had stuff going on, but that 100 backstroke was always in my mind, and so going into it, I just kind of had to trust the training, and I always try to just turn off my brain and just let my body do what it does, because we've swam the same length thousands and thousands of times now. So you just kind of had to trust the training and go for it.
Take us to the moment when you touched the wall and realized you did it. You made it to the podium.
Yeah, everybody keeps saying that I looked sad or I looked mad, but in all honesty, I was just so exhausted. I hit the wall, and I think it was kind of like a flood of relief of I did it. And I don't think it really set in at the moment that I'm now a Paralympic medalist. At the time, I was just kind of like, I did it. I got on the podium. I can finally rest. I did still have one relay after that, so I kind of had to amp myself up a little bit, but it was just an amazing moment, and to be able to look over at the side and see that my coach was just as excited for me. It was a really cool moment. My parents were in the stands, and I had teammates cheering for me. It was just incredible.
Now that you've had time to let everything sink in, what does this medal mean to you?
I think it's so much more than just a 1 minute and 20-some second race. It really is an accumulation of all our training, all our hard work throughout the years. And it just means so much to have this piece to remind me of all the things that we've done, all the hard work that's gone into it, all the tears, all the sweat, because it really is a lot of work to get to this point. And it's an amazing feeling for sure to have this physical reminder. And I woke up this morning and I kind of looked across and I'm like, hey, there it is. I did that. I set up my medal box and everything. And yeah, it was pretty cool. It was the first time we're coming home. I didn't get asked as much if I was an Olympian. People understood what the Paralympics were. And they're like, how cool is that you got a Paralympic medal? I think that's really cool that we're raising awareness, because the para in Paralympics stands for parallel. They're meant to be equal games. And I think we're finally getting to that point where people are like, oh, hey, this is the same thing. It's just run a couple weeks later, but with slightly different sports. But it's the same thing. These athletes train just as hard. So I think to get that recognition, not just in Canada, but worldwide, I think it's a huge step for the movement of people with disabilities, for the sports movement, all this kind of stuff. And I know for me growing up, I struggled a lot with gym classes. I struggled a lot with accessibility and just feeling like I was alone and not seeing people like me. So I hope that others are able to kind of watch on TV and say, hey, I could do that too, or I know a friend that I could get into parasport, or I know that I want to get involved somehow, because there's so many great opportunities. So I think it's really cool to see how much attention it's getting, and I hope that just continues to grow, so that hopefully one day it's just common that everybody says the Olympics and Paralympics and people truly treat it as equals.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. Employee pricing is on now.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. We're definitely not looking at swimming in outdoor pools and lakes on days like today.
Yeah, we're definitely out of summer now that we were in a couple of days ago. Now
yesterday?
Back at, yesterday pretty much. Yeah, exactly, through parts of the province. And yeah, now today we've dropped back into those fall conditions, and even a little bit of some rain moving through the province, and definitely feeling windy as well, with those gusts picking up 50 to 60 in parts of southern and southeastern Saskatchewan right now. And those have just continued to increase kind of through the day here. Then we're talking about the rain as well. We saw a band of it kind of moving right along the Trans-Canada corridor a bit earlier, now moving into that Highway 16 corridor and up towards Saskatoon. And some heavier rain off to the southeast, with a few embedded thunderstorms now moving in around the Estevan area and off toward Carlisle and Oxbow and the Redverse area too. And those temperatures have now dropped back into the teens through much of the province. But in the sunshine in the southwest, we did manage to get into the 20s today. You can kind of see where that rain is right now over parts of east central Saskatchewan. That's where we're seeing kind of those coolest temperatures. Now, this pattern going to continue over the next 24 to 48 hours. Here's how things kind of play out. Bands of moisture continue to move through Regina and southeastern Saskatchewan into those early overnight hours tonight. We see some clearing, at least, from the rain. We'll probably still see the cloud cover tomorrow. And then we start seeing some showers pick up in southwestern Saskatchewan. And this kind of these bands of moisture as a result of this low pressure system moving up from the international border. That'll continue moving northward through the day, and through central and northern Saskatchewan, we'll start seeing that a bit. And then by Friday morning, we start seeing some more substantial rain through southwestern and west central Saskatchewan. And then this whole thing just kind of swirls around and moves northward, and then it's the north Friday into Saturday where we're continuing to see the rain move through before we get some clearing for the weekend. In the south, still cloudy and a bit showery in northern Saskatchewan. So totals through the next 72 hours here. Again, this is skewing this more to west central Saskatchewan, and this is over the next 3 days here. So amounts 20 to 40 millimeters, not completely out of the question, but it's really going to depend where we see some of the heavier pockets of rain popping up, and that is still really to be determined because we could have some thunderstorms producing locally heavier amounts too. Almost a guarantee, though, that we're still going to be quite windy overnight tonight, especially in southern Saskatchewan. All of us tomorrow kind of 40 to 60 kilometer an hour gusts, and then things really picking up again, I think, as we head into Friday. Now, what that means for smoke conditions, we saw a little bit of that starting to move through south and central today, but that'll push that out of here. Northern Saskatchewan likely going to continue to see thick smoke before that begins to dissipate, thanks to the rain as we head into the weekend. So temperature-wise, actually, Regina's not doing too bad tomorrow, but very gusty at times with the chance of showers. Then we're clearing out for the weekend before the next system starts to move in early next week. Saskatoon, a pretty good bet that we're going to see showers and thunderstorms through Thursday and Friday. But look at that, the weekend, perfectly sunny, Sam. I wonder who did that.
Oh, you're taking credit now for the good weather?
Well, I might just be doing that.
Okay, I'll remember that when the bad weather comes.
You do that.
Okay, thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
That is a constant classic from Katie Lang. On Saturday, she's going to be inducted into the Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame, and she'll celebrate in her home province. Lang is set to take the stage at the Canadian Country Music Awards in Edmonton, alongside her old band for the first time in 35 years. We'll be back after the break. The race for the White House has kicked into high gear after last night's presidential debate. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump clashed on issues from abortion to the economy and immigration. Democrats and even some Republicans believe Harris came out on top, but Trump says he won the night. Chris Reyes looks at what voters are saying the day after.
Kamala Harris, let's have a good debate.
Have fun.
Thank you.
It didn't take long for both candidates to claim victory after the 90-minute debate.
This was my best debate. I thought it was very good. I thought she was very weak on foreign policy. She was very weak on the border, and I'm very happy.
I think that we think today was a good day, and it kind of was. But we have 56 days to go, and guys, we're still the underdogs in this race. It's tight.
The debate touched on a wide range of issues: the economy, immigration, foreign policy, and reproductive rights. But it was short on policy details and heavy on the personal hits.
She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist.
It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. So many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace.
One notable endorsement came right after the debate, an Instagram post from the pop star Taylor Swift.
We're honored to have the endorsement of Taylor Swift because I think that Taylor Swift saw what millions of Americans saw last night on the stage. She saw Donald Trump refuse to say if he would sign a national abortion ban. She saw him continue to demean America, and that's not the kind of America that Taylor Swift wants to be in.
From Republicans, the overwhelming criticism that the moderators went easy on Kamala Harris and that Harris wasn't held accountable for President Joe Biden's record.
She spent her time trying to goad Donald Trump, trying to taunt Donald Trump. But what Kamala Harris didn't do is talk about policy to impact the lives of the American people.
While it's voters who will decide who won the debate, some analysts say Trump's angry outbursts gave Harris the upper hand.
I think Kamala Harris won the debate. She was able to trip Donald Trump up, keep him on the defensive, basically from the start when she essentially forced him to shake her hand. She set the rhythm and the tempo of the debate, and she knocked Trump off his game from the start.
No word yet on whether there will be a second debate between the two, though other networks, including Fox News, have made it clear they want to host one. One debate that's confirmed is happening this October between the VP candidates, J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
Hurricane Francine made landfall tonight as a Category 2 storm in southern Louisiana. People have been stocking up on gas, water, and other supplies as the storm barreled toward the U.S. Gulf states. Officials in New Orleans are warning the powerful storm could spawn tornadoes as well as heavy rain, flooding, damaging wind, and dangerous storm surge. Francine is the 4th hurricane since mid-June. And Ethan is back with one last look at your weather.
Well, no hurricanes here, but maybe a little bit of a weather that's reminiscent of that. Some wind and some rain tonight in Regina by midnight, I'm thinking. Look at those gusts up to 60 kilometers an hour. We could go to 70 at times overnight. Still breezy tomorrow morning. I think just a chance of showers at the 8 a.m. hour. And then as we head into the afternoon, we may actually see some breaks of sun, but the chance of showers still remains. And yes, still going to be pretty gusty. It'll push the smoke out of here for Regina and Saskatoon. I think we have a chance of showers tonight in Saskatoon, and then as that band of rain gets a bit further north, there's a better chance for tomorrow morning, and then likely the light rain beginning by the afternoon, with a temperature just hanging around 15, Sam, so that kind of fall-like weather we've been seeing, it's going to continue for a little while.
Okay. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
And before we go tonight, a successful second day of Treaty 4 celebrations in Fort Qu'Appelle. Many schools bussed in elementary and high school students from all over the province. There were more than 25 different activities for the students to try out, things like canoe and fur trade simulations, hide tanning, and traditional hand games. There were 71 schools registered today with close to 4,000 students at the Treaty 4 grounds. For some kids, it was their first time out, and others looked forward to coming back to compete in different events.
That was usually the currency in the past, so we're trying to teach and educate kids about how people, instead of using real money, they would use like animal pelts.
You have to be really good at negotiating.
It's pretty fun and it's interesting to just make negotiations and just
work things out.
Get good deals for yourself.
The events are taking part as part of the celebration of the 150-year anniversary of the signing of Treaty 4. On September 15, 1874, Cree, Assiniboine, and Saulteaux people entered into a treaty with the British Crown. The process took 6 days to complete. Treaty 4 celebrations will continue right through Sunday, wrapping up with a powwow. And that's it for us tonight. For News Anytime, you can head to our website, subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.